Everyone, it is time for another video about one of my favorite trips. And the trip I'm going to tell you about today was London in February of 2007. Now on this trip, it was me, my husband, and my son Andrew, who at the time was 10. My daughter Megan stayed home, and I think she stayed she did a split stay with each of my parents. My dad lives in the same town in Wisconsin that we live in, and my mom lives in the Twin Cities. And I think she spent part of the time with my dad and part of the time with my mom. Ben wasn't born yet. Megan would have been, I think she was 2. And she was perfectly fine. She didn't really seem to miss us at all. So anyway, leading up to this, I had made a statement at some point in there early, I don't know, within the year before we took this trip or something. I had decided that we were going to take each of our kids on a trip, a big trip to Europe, with just mom and dad, me and my husband, when they were 10, and that we were going to make a tradition out of this. Okay, first I have to add, I was going to let them choose where they wanted to go, I think. Andrew really wanted to go to Italy. He really wanted to go to Rome. He's very interested in the history of the Roman Empire and all of that. I, for whatever reason, apparently overrode that decision and said, no, we're going to go to London. So I don't know if it was a cost thing or if I was concerned about language. And I just thought that, going to an English-speaking country when he's only 10 and it's his first time going abroad might be a little bit easier. It might have been or the fact that I had lived there before and been there before. It might have been a combination of those factors. I know that it was very reasonable. We got decent priced plane tickets to London at the time. This time and the time that I went to Paris and London with my mom, which was in 1999 or 2000, you used to be able to get really decent priced tickets to Europe, and that's not really the case anymore. Anyway, so we were going to make this tradition out of taking each of the kids. Now, granted, at this time, I only had 2 kids. I had no idea how many kids I was going to have when I made this statement. And I obviously didn't know the future, because by the time Megan turned 10, that whole idea was off the table because my husband was no longer in the picture. When she was 10, we did take a big family trip, just me and the 3 kids. We went to Disney World, and that's coming up in another one of these videos when we went to Disney World in 2015. Ben is 10 now, and I'm obviously not going to be able to take him to Europe, and Megan has still never been to Europe, but I would like to take him somewhere while he is still 10, just him and I. Megan and I had done a lot of little trips. She and I, we used to kind of almost every year for her birthday go on a mother-daughter trip just to the cities, but for, a couple of nights and do a bunch of stuff together. So we kind of have done a lot of trips, just her and I. Ben and I, if you saw my last video, this past summer was the first time that he and I did some trips together, just the 2 of us. So I have now done something alone with each child, individually. So check that milestone off. But I would like to take Ben and Megan to Europe. Andrew, at this point, when we went to London in 2007, that was his first time going abroad and going on a transatlantic flight and all that. He is now in Italy, and this is his 4th time going over there. So he is now tied with me. We have each been there 4 times. So I need to stay ahead of him because he's ahead of where I was at. He's 22 years old, and this is already his 4th trip to Europe. And, he's gone for long periods of time like I did. So when I was 22, I'd only been there twice. And I didn't take the other 2 trips until later in my 20s and 30s. Yeah, later 20s, and I was in my 30s when we took this trip. So, yeah, I need to try to stay ahead of him, or at least keep in pace. And so it is a goal of mine to take Megan and Ben, either individually or together at some point, hopefully soon before they up and leave me, to Europe too. So anyway, back to this trip in London 2007. This was also my husband's first, and as far as I know, only trip abroad. Well, he went to Central America once on a missions trip, like to help build houses and stuff. But I don't know, it's kind of different. And I think that was after this. Okay, we flew over, and I advised my husband and my son to sleep on the plane because it was one of those nonstop transatlantic flights from Minneapolis to London where we left in the evening and you get there in the morning. And my son was a good boy and listened to his mother and went right to sleep and laid down, and he and I both slept the whole way and we're fine. My husband got all enamored with the in-flight entertainment options in the seat back in front of him, which was kind of a new thing at that point, and stayed up all night watching movies. And then he had such bad jet lag that for like the first 3 days of our trip, he kept complaining that he was going to die. So don't do that. We actually, when we got there, we landed at Gatwick, which is, it's like Delta Air France, KLM are all partners. And when you fly from Minneapolis to London, you'd go to Gatwick. And then we took the train, into Victoria. I was totally excited and wide awake and everything. The two guys fell asleep immediately on the train, even though it's not that long of a train ride. And then we had a little problem. This was one of I don't make very many of these, but I did make a travel mistake on this trip. We did not book the correct hotel. I don't know what I was thinking, if I had forgotten everything I knew from the last time I was there, or maybe I said, oh, I want to try to stay in a different part of the city, or we didn't have Google Maps yet where you can look at what's close. I don't know what happened. But for some reason, I picked a hotel way north London, and it was really kind of in a business district. It wasn't near anything, touristy at all. And we took a cab there from Victoria, and it took a really long time. And we went past all these things, that were, oh, look, there's Buckingham Palace, and there's this, and there's that. But then we kept going and kept going and kept going, and I got kind of concerned as we were going. I'm like, where is this? And it was a very nice hotel, but it was geared for business travelers. And I said, this isn't the right place for us. And also, it was too expensive, and it was going to take my whole credit card. I don't know if the exchange rate or something had changed in the time I had last checked it before we got over there, but it was going to cost too much. And so we actually left and did not stay there. We took the tube back to Victoria because now we'd spent way too much money on this taxi. And then it was raining. And here we are pulling our luggage and walking up and down the road behind Victoria there. I can't think of the name of it, but that's a good place to stay. There's just rows and rows, hotel after hotel after hotel in that street. And it's very walkable to things and very close to Victoria, so you can get on the tube. And we went into, the owners were standing there inviting you in so you could check out a room or whatever. And we went into a couple and looked at them. And then we ended up finding a Best Western that was totally nice. We ended up getting this nice big room up on the top floor that had a queen bed and a twin bed, which was perfect. And it was big. And we had a nice view out the window over the roofs. And it came with free breakfast, which the other one did not. So we ended up getting a better located, less expensive, overall better value hotel. So it was just a mistake. It would have been nice to have done that in advance and not had to trudge through the rain carrying our luggage. But they were all on wheels, but still. So that was kind of a little bit of a rough start to our trip. After that, we just did a lot of things in London. We had a really great time. Even though it was February, it was still green. We had a little bit of rain on and off, but nothing major. We saw all the main stuff. We went up on the London Eye. That was new to me because that had not been built the last time I was there, which was really neat. And we did it at night. So, did my mom? No, this is the only time I went up on the London Eye. Did we do it twice and do it during the day too? I kind of feel like we did. I'm not positive about that. We might have only done it at night. I don't know why I have it in my head that I did it in the day one time too. Maybe I did do it with my mom. I don't remember. I don't know. I'll have to double check what year the London Eye was built. And then we went to Tower of London, which Andrew is a big history nut, and so he loved that. And I know that was the second or third day that we were in London, and so he hadn't really seen much of the old stuff yet. And so when we got to Tower of London, he is he was just beaming. He was so excited to get to go to that. And we did a whole Beefeater tour and saw the crown jewels and all of that stuff. We did a boat tour up and down the Thames. I remember Andrew fell asleep for part of that, though, because he was tired. And we went to Greenwich and stood on Greenwich Mean Time. We went to a bunch of museums. We went to the Imperial War Museum, which could have spent forever in there. Andrew loved that museum. It's a very well done museum. We went to the Cabinet War Rooms and the Churchill Museum, which are excellent. We went to the National Gallery and the National Portrait Gallery, probably some other ones I don't even remember. Trafalgar Square, all that, Piccadilly Circus, all that. We did not go to the theater. I remember there were posters everywhere for Wicked. Wicked had just come out in London. I don't know if it premiered in London and not Broadway. I'm not sure about that. But it was big in London right then. And we said, oh, that'd be kind of cool. We should go to that. But I don't think we could get tickets. I went one day to the ticket booth in Leicester Square and tried to get us tickets to the theater. But your options for theater with a 10-year-old are kind of limited. And I think what I ran into was there wasn't really anything appropriate for Andrew that he would have liked available that day. So instead, I walked over to the one Leicester Square movie theater there, and it's the one where they have a lot of movie premieres. I actually saw at the premiere of Remains of the Day when I was studying in London, I saw Christopher Reeve when he could still walk, and Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson come in. They walked right past me going into a premiere there, and I think I went to a couple other premieres or stumbled upon them when I happened to be there, and I saw some other people going into premieres at movies too. And it was that theater, and I got tickets to the movie with Ellen Zellweger and Ewan McGregor about Beatrix Potter. I can't think of the name of it, but anyway, I got us tickets to that, and we went to that movie instead, and we really enjoyed it. I remember Andrew being kind of delighted at the fact that you could choose your seats in the movie theater and that they served beer. And that's kind of funny because now our movie theaters here do that too, but they've just started doing that. And you could do that, like in New York and stuff for quite a while now. But in our local movie theater here, that you could choose your seats and that they have alcohol is very new, like just in the past couple of years. So it took that long. It took, 11, 12 years to get that concept over here to small town America. But anyway, and we just had a great time. I will say, even though I said that after that Disney Magic Cruise when Andrew was 4, I haven't really gotten to do anything with just Andrew, that's not necessarily true, because this trip really kind of was like it was just me and Andrew, because my husband, as I said, had a tendency to wander off and just kind of do his own thing. And this was one of those times. He was also very bad about holding us up in the morning. He kind of gorged himself on the continental breakfast, or the little breakfast that they served, and he'd like stuff in his pockets and stuff. It was embarrassing. And I'm like, what are you doing? Let's go. And so oftentimes Andrew and I would leave ahead of him, and we're like, you need to just catch up, because we got sick of waiting for him. And I know once on the Sunday morning that we were there, we went to church, and Andrew and I had gone out. We'd gone out to like get something, stamps, or go to the ATM or something, and we found this really neat church, and we said, hey, let's try this church. It's Sunday morning. And so we went back to the hotel, it wasn't very far away, and told my husband, we're going to go to this church, and we told him where it was. He's like, okay, I'll catch up with you. He never came. We went to the whole church service, and he never came. He claims he got mixed up and went to some different church the other direction, but I don't know. So it was kind of like that. It was sort of like me and Andrew were doing this trip on our own, and he was just sort of there, sort of. I mean, he was with us at meals and stuff, but so that was a really fun trip for Andrew, because, to take your 10-year-old, that's a fun age to travel with and do things with. 10 is a good age, and we really enjoyed it. This was very exciting for him, obviously, to get to do this with Mom, and obviously, instilled that little travel bug in him that he wanted to go back time and time again. So, the 3 times he's been to Europe since then have all been without me. He went to France with his teacher when he was, summer between junior and senior year of high school. Last January, he did the J-term abroad, Morocco, France, Belgium, and then went to Ireland on his own. and now he's doing Italy as a J-term abroad, study abroad. So I really encourage you to not be afraid to take your kids far. You know, look beyond just the United States. They can learn a lot, and it's a really good experience. I wouldn't hesitate to take my kids out of school. I know Andrew missed school for this trip to London. And we made a slideshow, like we made of pictures and things on a CD and let him take it to his teacher so he could show it to the class when he got back to school. So, which was kind of cool. And I made him a photo book that he still has up in his room. And so, you know, you can make some really cool memories with your kids by doing something unusual like that. So that was another one of my favorite trips ever. And I have 3 more coming up. And I thank you all for joining me for this series. And please, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Click the little notification bell so that you get an email notifying you of each of my new videos, because hopefully sometime in 2019 we will take some trips and we'll have some more footage of things like that. And thanks again, guys, for joining me. Safe travels.